what if God is just so dope that that's why we end up seeing it in all of these places, and that's why it links back to source every time, because it's really like this fractal happening, this resonant, reverberating fractal.
The Desert Fathers would talk about how their ultimate goal is the kingdom of heaven, and their proximate goal to get there is purity of heart.
I favor non-dualism is because that just is like the ultimate answer on the test. It's like, no, there's no place that the divine is not, and there's nothing that is not divine.
The gospel don't mean anything if it can't save everyone. Jesus cool, man.
Hello, nice to see you.
Peace.
John, Illuminati Congo. So this will be tonight is performing at the AyurPrana listening room, so this will be the second time you've come through.
Yes.
To share your particular blend of magic and transmission here. Last time it was a blast. I think everybody really had a good time. So we were excited to bring you back. John puts out really awesome records, kind of weaving spirituality and Vedic knowledge with ancient Christian mystical knowledge, with hip hop, and really bringing through a lot of positivity and beauty and love and light into his music. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a joy to be here again. And a place like this, of course, the AyurPrana listening room, I love the intention and the direction. And so building with y'all always feels natural, because this is my mind, and my life tends to move along the directions of prana, and, well, in my mind, I just put together Ayurveda and prana, and so also Ayurveda, like I'm into the Siddhas, in Siddha medicine, which is connected to Ayurvedic as well, and just the ideas that go past limitations that we might have programmed, I've been able to find in the Siddhas, and in ideas of prana and practices with prana. So just the name of this place makes me like, yo, I'm glad to be here.
See, the people that know what I mean, we're always wondering, AyurPrana, do people know what that is? But the resonance with you, that's great. But you started off with something, I'm just gonna dive right in. Okay, so Siddha, so you're into like Siddha medicine?
Yeah.
So these people are generally like hidden, you know, like the medicine. It's not like you have like books and books on like Siddha medicine. I just recently, this summer, met this like Siddha master, you know? And but tell me a little bit about how's your connection to Siddha medicine, and can you sneak us in to like meet some Siddhas? Well, because I know it's like sometimes kind of top secrety, kind of like the Illuminati, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm not any expert in any of it, but for decades I've been studying the Siddhas, because they're some of the people that have explicitly talked about physical immortality, and there's many cases where people have reported that so-and-so Siddha is immortal physically, and that they may have witnessed it, like with Ramalinga Swami Valalar. He was the most recent in like the late 1800s, and witnesses, a gang of witnesses said they saw him go into a room and then flash a light, and he was gone, and his whole life he was talking about physical immortality. it was pretty cool, some of the things he would talk about. He said that when you're really in that immortal intent, that you walk past, withered plants and they're gonna come back to life. It's sort of like those cartoons you would see back in the day. So he's one of the most expressive with the words physical immortality. And so Siddha medicine often is used to bring about physical immortality, or at least super longevity, where the physical body doesn't die, or it can live for many kalpas, for many ages. And so kaya kalpa is one of the medicines that siddhas, and rasayan is another one. Those are also general terms, though, as well.
I'm liking this already. You just dove right in. So your current exposure to Siddha medicine, so absolutely, I would say that's a deep interest. So, as life unfolds, we become aware of the subtle realms, so maybe at least I can speak for myself in certain portions of my life, it's been a lot of understand the physical realm, how the physical works, but then as life has unfolded, especially after moving to astral, actually, it's all kind of like in the subtle realm. And then the Siddha's mastery of that realm and the potentization of medicines through subtle tantra, through subtle actions. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have the connection with the plant, the understanding of the use of the plant, and then you got the potentization through alchemy and through mantra and all of that. So please, if you can elaborate a little bit on what you've been exposed to, that'd be great.
Yes. So with the siddhas, I just wanted to find what was common in a lot of the teachings. In maybe you have like Nath siddhas, that's a whole specific lineage. But then you have the Tamil siddhas, and their lineages connect, but then there's cultural differences and all types of extra local variances depending on what region you're in. But I wanted to find the things that were most united amongst them, and it was looking at how they view the elements, like fire, earth, water, air, and ether or akasha. These elements were always seen as subtle, not just the dense way we look at it. They're actually what you could say spirit. And this is what I've come to understand. Like when I look at fire, like the fire right here, I could see through it. It looks like a spirit. If I was trying to draw a spirit, it looks like that. Look at air. Air looks like spirit. Look at water. Like in a movie where they might try to bring to life a being out of water, and you look at that body, it looks like what in my mind I would think of as a spiritual form. With earth, it might be a little more, you might have to make more of a stretch to see the spiritual aspect, but really, like if you magnify and zoom in to anything solid in the earth, you're gonna see dancing symmetries of crystal, of anything solid. There's like this underlying crystal pattern there. So when I look at the whole physical universe, even the word physical is, you have phi, the word phi, and that's like those spirals. And the sickle is, I see cycles of phi. This is sort of poetic, interpretive ways of looking at words. But this is what the Siddhas would do. When you read their writings, it's not just medicinal healing. It's also this very poetic and double, triple entendre type of language. They were almost like rappers. They were almost like spitting actual flows. Just one more point that sort of diverges, but you think about Krishna and Arjuna in the chariot. What's the book called that came from that? It's called Bhagavad Gita, which means the song of God. So it's a song. And if you read it, it's all rhymes, the whole thing. But they was in a car. If I'm in a car with you, am I gonna be just saying poetry with you? No, I'm gonna be rapping back and forth. Krishna and Arjuna have recorded the first freestyle from 5,000 years ago.
Downloaded from source. So it's kind of like the body and the mind check out. And it's like, then it's just downloading flow. It's not even like who was rapping, who is spitting what, you know? It's kind of like, it's the divine blessing that comes through that. And so like, it's so interesting that in rap they call it flow, you know, because it's like, it's a flow state. It's a flow state.
It is.
And you're right, you're saying freestyling. I think that's just a beautiful way of looking at it. It's channeling, you know, it's like that channeling of that. And then Aurobindo, we've got the book here on this table, it's, you know, super master, and he's the one, he wrote Savitri, which is this massive poem, right? And, you know, as a young man, I was really into like knowledge and gnan, but then when you're learning about Aurobindo, he's saying you have to activate both hemispheres. So through poetry, through song, through rap, and truth, like both of them, as they like blend together, then the truth just unfolds. I love your analogy, I'm digging it.
Thank you. Aurobindo, he talked about physical immortality too. That's what's so cool is like when I would look for, you know, any mention, any references of it. The reason I'm so concerned with physical is because, like I said, I see it as the spiritual. They're united. The physical and spiritual are one. And to hear these stories of masters like Tirumular or Agastya, these are siddhas who are said to be still alive. And if the ages are correct, the yugas that they're talking about, they're from even past long yugas ago. So these people are millions of years old, according to if the dating is proper and if they're really still embodied physically. I don't know, but I love to think about it because it challenges the thoughts that physical death is inevitable. And I forget which book that Aurobindo was talking about it. I wish, but it was in one of his integral yoga books. It was a thick one.
The Synthesis of Yoga, maybe?
Maybe
There's
so.
an integral yoga too, so.
A lot. You were talking earlier about the density of elements, and one thing people talk about is how everything right now is so dense.
Yeah.
And in the past, there was much more space and power in the lightness of the elements, and we could move and control the elements. People talk about air bending and water bending. And when I think of like trying to trace that lineage back through Siddhas, one of the things that's drawn me to India and the Vedic world is I feel like the through line of knowledge it didn't get broken in the way that it did in a lot of other places. Like you read in the Old Testament about these people living to be 800, 900 years old, and at 500 years old, they begat this 12 children. It definitely seems like there's a lot of, from different cultures and places, history and people speaking that human beings used to live in a completely different way and time frame and power than where we are now.
Yeah.
So I feel like how we find our way back to follow those traces to our lineage and our potential. Right now we're kind of tracing breadcrumbs and trying to find our way, but it's all there, and the history is kind of peppered throughout different places, and it kind of sparks your imagination and ability and desire to try to move outside the bounds of what we've been told.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's like, we at the Ayurvedic Institute, we teach multiple disciplines. So primarily Ayurveda, but we teach some Jyotish, we teach some Vastu, we teach a little bit of everything. But the first lecture is always the same. It was like, the divine wanted to have a play, and then here we are, all of existence. But then, so as soon as that happens, that existence, the first thing that we found when we became aware of awareness was ether, air, fire, water, and earth. So in Ayurveda, how does it manifest in the body? In Jyotish, how does it manifest in the celestial bodies? And then Vastu, how does it manifest, in our space? And it's just like we always start with the same thing, and it kind of gives some vision to it all. And that's really interesting. You were talking about Earth earlier, and Matrix. You've seen the movie Matrix. At first, I thought it was just like a movie or whatever. But I kind of feel like matter, like if you really are in a subtle state, you can kind of see the code in the matter. You could see the flow of energy, even in the matter. Yeah. Because you were talking about the subtleties of the smoke and the fire and the water, but even in matter. So you're talking about Augusta and these, that's the south, the lineage from the south versus, the Vimalananda. I'm sure you've heard of Vimalananda, right? Or
Yes, that's with Robert Svoboda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's more of the north, and like kind of. I'm just kind of getting into this stuff, but you seem like you've got a lot of exposure. So
I do, but it's fragmented, and it's just through my own delving over many years. It's nothing. I do have initiations and connections to teachers that but I don't take a lot of these things serious on an academic level where I'm gonna lock in anything. I'm more so just, I get it, process it, and see what it does for my life, for my lifestyle. And sometimes I'm able to remember something that's been impactful, but I've just processed a lot of information to sort of let it be more of something for my life to display rather than the information to be recalled to display pieces of facts and things. You get what I'm saying?
I 100% get it. It's like, sometimes, so I'll spend time, we'll meet somebody and they'll be like full of knowledge and they'll really touch my heart, and then we'll meet somebody else. But like, I feel that the information and the humans and the experiences that are touched, does it bring light within me? Does it bring joy? Does it bring some element of awareness into my day-to-day body? And I kind of feel, a lot of people use that word integration. So if you meet a beautiful soul, if you read a beautiful passage, if you have exposure to these things, at some point it should give me bliss. For some point it should give me a little bit of a different vision of how I see a tree or how I see the earth or whatever the case may be. and I might not be able to regurgitate every little thing. Like my Sanskrit is pretty weak, you know, compared to people that do what I do, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't really put as much. In fact, my first spiritual teacher, he was called a Shastriji, which basically means that he is master like Vakra and grammar, Chandas, like he knows inside of every word, every etymology, and he did. He was amazing. And then when I was in his ashram, me and a couple of my buddies were like, hey, we want to learn Sanskrit. Like, we want to be like him, because we looked at him like you would look up to your dad or whatever. He was like, oh, no. He was like, that'll be a waste of time. He was like, just become self-aware. And he spent his whole life like learning every detail, and that's all he talked about. He was like, no, Sanskrit, that'll be a waste of time. He was like, just imbibe the light, you know? So I do really get what you're talking about. It's like maybe all the information isn't organized this way, but hopefully as loving as I am to somebody, as forgiving I am to somebody who has had transgressions to me, right, was probably more what's important. I kind of feel that vibe from you.
Yeah, the information organizes as our life, and in some instances, and that's valuable, as well as the information being utilized for recall and whatever other things those little points could add to.
Yeah, when you were talking about the Siddhas, I was trying to remember like 4 different names in my head, and it's like the names are gone, but the memories and the stories are still there.
Yeah.
There was some guy, when I was in India, I visited one of the temples of Neem Karoli Baba, and he took over the temple of this saint from like early 1900s who disappeared. He was an old guy. He like walked into the river, and they never saw, he never came out, and the next day in a different body, a different saint came back, a different man came back into the temple, and was just like, this is my temple. And they're pretty sure the feeling or the legend around there is he just walked in, got another body, came out the next day and kept the temple.
Right.
And he remembered all kinds of stuff of the last guy. And now Neem Karoli Baba was taking care of that temple for this guy and this line of mystery. But I don't remember any of their names.
Right. Right. And it might not matter the name, but the story, the impact of the story.
Yeah, the perfume of possibility is still there. I was kind of curious a little bit about how you came into this flow of making prana and these kind of divine communion, the focus of your life. Like, when did that start? How did that come for you?
Well, when I've always been into God, the divine, I mean, since birth. It's like when you're a baby, you're just celebrating God. Like we're celebrating the divine, running around, you know, just playing. Like I remember that, and it feels the same way that I feel when I think about God. So to me, it feels like I was there, and I don't just think I was. I think everyone is there when they're born, and then I remember concepts came to me of, you know, there's churches around. People use the name God, Jesus, and then, you know, I start considering these things, and my best friend was part of a church. I started staying at his house every now and again and learned some of that lingo. And when I was in high school, I was at a Christian school for sophomore year, and I was having many questions about. I chose to go to this Christian school actually because I was deep into it of my own volition. My parents didn't throw me in there, nothing. They didn't really go to church, nothing like that. But I started asking questions to my youth group and to this high school, and they both essentially kicked me out for the questions that I asked. And it was trip, like to just be a shorty and just to have questions, and they'd be like, no, you got to go. So I asked about the herb-bearing seed in the Bible, if why is weed bad if if it says that all these seeds are made by God, and I guess they thought I was trying to be a troublemaker. I don't know, but I really was questioning it. I really wanted to have a conversation about it. And the other things, I was just like, why are all people going to hell if they don't say or know this? That doesn't make sense. And so I prayed. I asked God, I was like, God, this don't make sense. Please show me what's up. And God was like, yo, I'm in all of these places that that other Christians are saying are condemned, or these people going to hell or whatever. I'm there communing with these people, the ones that are sincere. So he was like, this is just what it felt like in me. I don't know if, God is speaking, but this is what was inspired in me. It was like, go study how I show up in all of these other things. And so I started, I was already getting a whole bunch of books, like Egyptian yoga books. And so I started doing Egyptian yoga, actually.
Egyptian yoga, I don't know if I've heard that.
So my teacher, Yasir Rahotep, he had flyers at the Black Bookstore. I found it. I called him and I was like, I want to do the class. And I was 15. And he was like, you're 15, you're in high school, you could come do the class for free on some work study or something like that. And so I started doing that, and then went to the Krishna temple a couple years later. And those things gave me, when I say I went to the Krishna temple, I would go there and hang out all day cleaning and
not just get the free meal and take off. Yeah.
No, those were good, but no, I would be there all for hours of garden work, working in the kitchen, just to get to know people and get to know the temple, and to serve, to do the program of bhakti. And all of these things just thrust me more and more into the path where I am today. It's and there's also a big Rasta thing in there, because that's one of the reasons I got kicked out of my school. Is I wore a shirt with Bob Marley and it said Rastafari on the bottom, and they was like, "Do you know that's a cult?" And I was like, I thought it was just a name for God, and that's when my whole mind started shifting. Like, wait, people are making a lot of divisions about things. What does it all mean? I have to investigate, and I just continued to attempt to understand God, but really, the words sometimes the words are so divisive. Just the word God, or if I say I believe this, and another person feels left out, but we can't feel left out with breath. And so really coming to appreciate God as and in the breath, and let that be one of the main ways that I connect with people around the divine, and not even have to say the word divine, not even have to say the word God ever, but we could still have an experience of it, because we always are. But breath is what brought me the most experiential play with these ideas.
Yeah, Dr. Ladd talks about, he's our Ayurvedic teacher, and he's got so many spiritual nuggets, and he talks about Soham, the I am that, and as the meaning of the breathwork Soham. And then he says that it's a japa. It's the mantra not meant to be said. So it's universal. It's really meant to be felt in the breath. And then really it's that gap between the inhale and the exhale where the infinite lies. And so I really, even in our sessions and in our school and everything, sometimes the structures of the divine, right? The lineages, whatever the case may be, sometimes they stop us from just being free and experiencing it. They're good to a certain extent, but I definitely feel through Soham meditation, through breath meditation, just the pause, the gap, the infinite. I think the miracle lies within our breath, and it just takes a moment of awareness to be like, oh, wait a second, that was just so beautiful. So I think that's awesome. Yeah. I feel like we're like kindred brothers or something because I got thrown out. My first spiritual teacher, we used to have these like Sunday sessions where he had one of his quotes he always used to say was like, he used to say, question me and question my work. This is the phrase he would say. He was mainly spoken Gujarati or Hindi, but when he used English, he would say, and that was just kind of rare. Like for a teacher to be question me and question my work, he wanted people to understand and not just to follow, right? So in my little Sunday group, I would ask questions, genuinely curious about God. Like genuinely, I just wanted to know. I thought it was very interesting. And then one day, the facilitator, she was like, you asked too many questions. She was like, you don't get any more questions. I was like, wait, isn't this guy's mantra is like, question me and question my work. Everyone else is like sitting there, and I literally got questions. And she goes, you can stand outside. I was like, you're gonna throw me out? It's like she threw me out. But luckily,
there was more answers outside than inside with her.
There was more answers outside because my dad took me in and was like, don't worry, you got thrown out of that class. Just sit with me and just listen to this teacher direct, not through somebody else. I was probably like 15 or something like that, and it really worked out. And in middle school, they used to have like open gym, like a basketball gym at one of my friends' churches, but there'd be a short sermon afterwards, right? And I was down for that because I want to know about God. It didn't really, it doesn't matter to me where it's coming from, just teach me about the light, right? Yeah. And so they'd have a sermon, and then I went up, there was a conversation about hell that happened, and I was like 6th, 7th grade or something. I was like fairly young, right? And I went up to the preacher afterwards and I said, okay, imagine there's this, I don't know why I said this is exactly what I said. Imagine there's a person in Africa and that person has never heard of Jesus Christ, but all they do is take care of people. All they do is they do like seva, they're good, they're nice to everybody around them, et cetera, et cetera. I know everyone doesn't believe this, but this is what happened to me, okay? And then I was like, would they be allowed entry into heaven or would they go to hell? And then he said to me, he was like, I'm sorry to tell you. He was like, it pains me to tell you, but that person will go to hell, right? And then I talked to him, I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't think God's that way. And I left. I never went back to that. I told him very nicely. I wasn't mean. I wasn't yelling at the person. Right. But I think that if you don't get thrown out of things every now and then, maybe you're not on a true quest. But yeah. And Jeremy's one of the biggest rebels on the face of this planet. So maybe a little rebelliousness is good. Yeah.
I feel like especially with Christianity, it's so fascinating because it's so different than Jesus. Once you actually start reading what he had to say and what he did, the thought that they've tried to tame and domesticate him inside this like churchianity kind of structure. Yeah. The dude was born a fugitive. He died an outcast. He went around like faith healing and exercising and flipping tables, threatening authority. Yeah. And out of that, they've tried to build this rigid, dogmatic situation that puts people off of the real beauty and wildness that he had to share. So I love seeing people that can kind of get through and get past and not get distracted by that. Yeah. And still get to the beauty and heart and wildness of what he had to share. Yeah. Because so many people get turned off by it because of situations like that. Yeah. They associate some asshole in a gym like that. And I'm sure the guy didn't mean bad. I'm sure.
I just for the record, I know it doesn't really matter that much. I felt his pain by telling me something that he believed.
It's not fair to call him
I
an
don't
asshole.
think that he didn't like telling me that. Like you said something was hitting that guy, you know, but he wasn't mean.
And if he went through the scriptures, he would also see that he's choosing that side of the idea because there are a couple instances where you could interpret through the Bible that what he said was correct, but there's way more instances where what he said is incorrect and that Jesus actually died for that reason, to save even the person who don't know. The gospel don't mean anything if it can't save everyone. So often we misrepresent Jesus so badly by limiting his love and limiting God's love and forgiveness and understanding. I do see the benefit of dogma, of church, of regiments. I actually even see the Holy Spirit guiding those things in many instances. But the issue is that it's still filled with humans who are going to err in the way we treat each other, in the way we share what we're called to share. And so it gives religion a bad name when, like, religion doesn't, I've never seen religion do anything to anybody. Religion, where are you? Can I come smack you? Like, religion's nowhere, but it's people. And the same two people that came up in the same church, one turns out to care for everyone and see their relationship with God in the relationship with the least amongst them, and then another uses the same exact ideas to try to control and manipulate and avoid their own sin and look at other people's. And so it's that's what makes it hard too, is because religion gets such a bad rep that all of the goodness that's encapsulated in the ancient traditions, people can't even get to it because if it's slightly decorated in a religious tone or religious words, it's like, nope,
Turns
not
people
for me.
off, yeah.
And understandably, religious trauma and the things we've done to each other around religion is hideous. And so the issue is how we show up. If Christians show up like Christ and not look for anything, any glory in that, and really just keep taking up that cross and show up like Christ for the least amongst us, that's the solution. And if no one ever is like, yeah, see, the Christians fun. Nope, just each person just has to do it. It's not about recognition. It's not about changing the narrative. It's just about really living the gospel.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what Jesus was preaching so much. And the thought that all of these, I mean, if you read through, like just reading through all of the different stories in the Bible, so much of it is about how Jesus is talking about the kingdom of God. And then he's also talking about life on earth. Mm-hmm. And how do we bring that kingdom down when people keep kind of like making a mess all the time, and you have to keep sort of wiping it out with Noah, with the Tower of Babel, with Babylon. It's over and over humans coming together and kind of falling short, but still, like, what is the ideal and where do we go and how do we live in that flow and communion with God?
And I think just a general perspective of not robbing humanity of their work and their progress and their learning. Like we all have to learn. We all fall. You know, it could be within a religious organization, not within a religious organization, but those are the lessons that that person had to learn, like in a church or in a temple or in a synagogue. And some people are maybe atheists. Those are the lessons that they have to learn. But I think that even in I think it's beautiful the way you're looking at it. It's because we have to have compassion for Aurobindo. Again, when I was like 19 or 20, he said, I was reading somewhere that he said, the drunkard in the glass of the alcohol is looking for God. The man with a sexual appetite that's going to prostitute every weekend is looking for God. The person who is hungry for power is looking for God. He was the person hungry for money is looking for God. He was like, they're just looking for it. And at some point in this life or the next, they'll realize it's not that, and they'll move on to the next thing. But at some point that they'll find it, right? And so there's something beautiful about honoring people's journeys, you know, that it can manifest in so many different ways. But like for me, it's just to love and to be kind and not to have opinions really, you know, and negative opinions, which is hard to do. Because you're like, oh, that's dogma. I was like, what you telling everybody you're gonna go to hell? That makes no sense, you know, like that kind of thing. But really it's like, no, this person's genuinely seeking. They're looking for something. And then the truth will find them because they're genuinely looking.
For sure. Yeah, a lot of the ancient or some of the saints from the first few centuries, you can find such a vast array of understanding for the eternalness of God's experience, and that everyone shall be saved according to the gospel. Everyone shall be saved. The word Jesus actually means salvation. Yeshua means salvation. So say you were doing Ayurveda for some time and it really put your mind in a state that took you out of an unhealthy way of living. That's a salvation. That's a Jesus there. That's a place where someone has found Jesus. Maybe not, maybe they haven't found the person from 2,000 years ago, but it's really the same logos. It's the same exact logos. That logos is the word of God. That logos means, when the Bible says in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God, they're saying the logos. But this concept, logos, was a concept in Greece before Jesus was born. And Greece shared a lot of concepts with Egypt and India. There was a lot of philosophical sharing going on during those times. So what's the logos in these other cultures? That's what I like to ask, because that helps me understand, what are we saying? Who are we saying Jesus is when we're saying Jesus was born? When we're saying the logos was born and made flesh. Well, it's called the Tao in China. People have made that connection, that the Tao and the logos is similar. They say also Great Spirit is, in these lands, in the American lands, Great Spirit is another idea that was similar to logos. In Egypt, you have Mayat and Husia Heka. These are ideas similar. Husia Heka is like the word, the power of the word to organize and manifest. And Ma'at is like the truth and order in all things. And so that was made flesh in the form of Christ. And that is also, here's another one, Ashe. That's from the African traditions. Ashe is something we say at the end of prayers or offerings. And Ashe is also this same power that's found in everything. So if a person has no knowledge of Jesus, they don't care about that. But somehow they're connecting to the Ashe, they're connecting to Great Spirit. They are connecting actually to the same logos, the same supreme personality. That's what they like to call it in the Krishna temple, the supreme personality of God. It's the same one.
The Desert Fathers would talk about how their ultimate goal is the kingdom of heaven, and their proximate goal to get there is purity of heart. So simple.
So
just
simple.
filling yourself with love, and then you enter into that kingdom of God and that expression of all of those different names and experience and reality.
What's weird to me about the Desert Fathers, I love them. They're some of my biggest inspiration. But I don't understand when you go off and just live out on your own. Of course, you have to face all the stuff in you, all your own stuff. That's one of the main values of just living on your own, like the Desert Fathers would. But then I've heard them speak about how this is a higher path to serving others. And maybe I'm confused by how I understand because then they'll say, well, this is serving others, just doing this off on my own and not, but in my mind, I think about all of the people that could use some type of assistance. Are we like running away from things if we're just meditating on the love of God in a cave and we just run away from the doom and destruction of the city? Are we called to help? I
think it's the flow between the desert and the village, between the cave and the village, where you go and you absorb yourself and you have your experience, and then you come. It's like any kind of retreat or initiation or fast.
Mm-hmm.
You're bathing yourself so that you can hold and channel more, and then you come back and hopefully there's an exchange and a sharing
that's what the water does.
It flows.
Comes down from the clouds, streams, oceans, and soaks up again.
From some of the things I've read and heard about the Desert Fathers is there was that structure. They weren't just isolated, that there was, that they're even within whatever kind of mountainous structures that they would be in, that there was deeper insides, and that there was within whatever kind of structure they were in, there was a place that they were closer to some kind of village life where people could meet with them, and then they would disappear deeper into their thing for more isolation. But there was a flow between a communal situation and an isolated situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for everyone, it's finding that flow. Like, how do we step out to clear our channels a bit and commune in a deeper, quieter space, and then moving back in to live with more wisdom and connection and hopefully touch and share whatever we find. And that it is that flow between the desert and the village, or the forest and the village.
Some of their stories are like, no, my child, don't go, do not ever leave your cell. It's nothing but distraction and hell out there. And so it's like, oh my goodness. But I know what they're saying. Like, if I don't put my focus in like super strong, every little thing can be a distraction. But is it really distracting? Because is it God there too? Like, how do you How do you discern the difference between, okay, all is God, God is in everything, but also I have a focus and a goal, and you know what I'm saying?
I was just listening to this guy, his name is Mark Vernon, the other day. He's kind of a Christian mystic and scholar, but also versed in the Vedic. And the way he framed, he said he looked at Vedanta as an initiation, where in that process of seeing all as God, all as one, it's like an initiation experience. And Tantra is the return, where once you kind of come through that initiation of seeing the one and you see God as kind of underneath and at the substratum of everything. And Tantra is the return of seeing that there is nothing that is not God, and being comfortable in the flow, in the flow of it all, which I'd never thought of it in that way. And it really touched something in me, where there's, you know, the stepping out, the initiating to disrupt the habits and patterns of your life, that you kind of have to step outside for most people to have that deeper experience. And thinking of Tantra as the return, where there's not anything that is not God, and how to live with that reality, where every breath, every interaction, every whiff of smoke is filled with the divine. And you don't need to hide from any of it.
Yeah, I was lucky a few years ago. Happened to be at a retreat and slip into this really beautiful spiritual state, which I still kind of like cling on to. It was so beautiful. And I felt, you know, I went to the beginning of time, and I saw God is not in full form, but just like a white mist, and was talking telepathically. And I said, why create all this? You know, before time and space. So then you have time and space, creation of the universe. I was like, why? And it was such a beautiful answer. I was like, oh, you don't remember, we decided to do this together. And he goes, we all wanted this. You know, I'm just like, and the fact that there's like a we in the conversation, I'm just crying. I'm like, we all wanted this. Like, we all wanted this evolution and this multiple births and this creation. And so I think that really changed my life, to know that the party or the lila of being human, we have to enjoy that. So is there suffering? Absolutely there is. But I think part of it is the party. Part of it is seeing the divine in everything before we make our way back, you know? And so, yeah, I think the divinization, like my first spiritual teacher, Aurobindo, the mystics, I think that's why I'm kind of a non-dualist. Like, I favor non-dualism, is because that just is like the ultimate answer on the test. It's like, no, there's no place that the divine is not, and there's nothing that is not divine, you know? And that kind of solves everything for me, you know? And so, yeah, I think that I can acknowledge suffering. I can acknowledge going back to my mother. And at the same time, we'll party it up in this Leela while we're here.
I'm partying with you because how the scriptures say, God made the world and it was good. And that's everything. All of this is good. But then there's something else. There's something else here, and even my non-dual awareness will not let me condone abuse to myself, to others, and that is where that balance is so crucial for me in understanding, like, the omnipresence of God, God being in all things and in all happenings. But then there are actions that I can contribute to that are actually truly non-existent. Anything outside of the goodness of God. See, that's how my non-dual works, is that God is good all the time. That's it. Anything that's not good don't really exist. But when people are hurting, or if I contribute to that, to hurt, where does that come from? Well, in a Christian view, it comes from sin. Sin means missing the mark. The mark is like the Tao. We're striving to live according to the Tao. We're striving to live in the way of Christ. And when we miss the mark, it's sin when it causes some type of hurt. Now, is God still there? Yeah, Jesus showed us he's especially there in the hurt. But I don't think we can deny our hurt or our pain or our state of fallenness, yet we also can't deny our perfection and being complete in God right now. It's like both are necessary, and it's not even a dualism. It's the cross. Is a
Vertical and the horizontal.
Right. Is a cross dual, or is it non-dual? Because you have these two and they come together, but then right in the center, and it's one thing. The cross is one thing, that's non-dual. But so like this could be the divine, the vertical, and this could be our human nature, the horizontal. And somehow that's why Jesus is so important to me, is because it makes it so practical and for the least amongst us, so that I don't get too lofty. Yeah, I'm into the bliss, I'm in them realms, but that's how we fall from those realms if we don't keep it down here, keep it humble with the people.
Yeah, I think the ubiquity of the divine being in all, it's just the substratum of everything that exists. So the divine just permeates. It's in the miracle of a bird and the flower, and then, when it comes to humanity, I think part of the Krishna calls it Leela, or we accept the game of it all. That, at least from a Vedic perspective, you have Gam, Krodh, Maya, Lobh, or you have anger, greed, lust. You have these things. So part of embedded in the game with the substratum of the divine are these motions, right? And then part of the game is our dharma, or our moral compass, or the protection of the weak, or whatever the case may be. So the game is to be had. The game is to be played, right? With my own defilements as we carry as a community, as a society.
Yeah.
So we can't get out of the play. We can't get out, literally like you have a play on stage. There's no way we're going to get out of that, right? And so I kind of feel the substratum of it all is divine, but the game comes with whatever pieces you have on the board, and part of that is these human things that we have to understand and heal amongst ourselves, not just individually, but in our communities.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I don't think that we can't just stay lofty and in the subtle. In fact, we have to bring the divine in, because that helps with these things like lust and anger and all these other particular things. And community is important. We must form communities and alliances so that humanity doesn't get toppled over like it has so many times in many different cycles. So action is imperative, and at the same time, it's like a paradox, but you hold both, right? Yeah.
Faith and works.
Yeah.
It's like you could find it all in the unity of the cross, but you could call the cross the yin yang.
Yeah, exactly.
I look at it as the threshold between the timeless and the time bound, and where you move between them. I'm fairly new to being deep into contemplating Jesus and reading the Bible. It's all something that was sort of alluring for a while, but most of my deeper years of study have been in Vedic realms.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm really loving about reading the Bible and going into it is the stories of how to live well on earth. I feel like the Vedic scriptures and philosophy really I connect deeply with a lot of the non-dualism and that kind of ultimate philosophical view. But the stories of how to live well as a human in this play, in this dance, I'm really being fed by the Bible.
It's like, it's relational. And it starts off relational. When you get to the Trinity, God is a relationship, not just some static one. Yes, God is one, but God is three. Because if God was just one.
And also two.
Yes, and also two. But that two is, it's hugged by that three. So God in the two, I'll talk about that in a moment. But in the Trinity, you have this dynamic flow of love between, you could say Father and Son. That's how it's been used, Father and Son, and the love flow between them is the Holy Spirit. And all three of them they're each their own person, but they're all the one God. Because God, since forever, hasn't just been bored doing nothing. God, since forever, has been in Leela, has been enjoying God's self, being God, with the relationship that God has. You can't have a relationship. How you relate? How do you have love? How can God be love and love be forever if God doesn't have a way to actually love forever? Love isn't just love. No, it's something shared. And that's why God has to be this dynamic, not just the, I'm just one, nothing. Because one is nothing. If you just look at one, where's the differentiation of anything? If it's just one and it's just one everything, then there's no differentiation, and then we're back to zero.
And that's why we can't ultimately describe any of it. The words anytime we're trying to use words to describe it.
And that's why a Trinity, a mystery.
Yeah, in paradox. The Bible is so full of paradox and contradictions, and because there is no answer that we can say. And that's part of what I find so beautiful about Jesus, is the constant kind of play of contradicting himself and
wise like a
finding
serpent.
his way through the contradictions of society.
He said, wise like a serpent and innocent like a dove, He's definitely playing on contradictions and paradoxes.
There's, there's so many incredible stories and parables, but one of the more famous ones is the lady who's committed adultery that is, surrounded by people, and they kind of try to put Jesus to the test of what should we do with this lady. And either way, he's going to be attacked. If he says you should kill her, he's going to be attacked for that. If he says you should let her go, he's going to be attacked for that. And the kind of other layer that I heard in the story, he says, he who's committed no sin cast the first stone. But while they're asking him what to do, there's a kind of a legend that he was sitting there with his finger drawing in the sand. And that you heard this, and that anybody that would look at what he was drawing in the sand at that time, he was making a list of all of the sins or things that everybody that had done there had committed. So if you looked over, you'd see, stole from this person, did this, everything that they'd ever done, he was just writing. Then you would see it if you came at him.
And what's funny is that they was doing it for adultery, right? Let's shorten that word. Adultery. It's adult. And what did Christ always say? To be like little children. It's no coincidence that adultery is this this sin that is constantly being condemned, and yes, to be unfaithful and untrue is, and to be out just licentious or just doing whatever might not be the best thing for relationships and bodies. But I really think there was more going on with that word, and it was about beginner's mind. Don't be an adult. Don't adulterate. Adulteration means to take from the original whole state of, like that's where we want to hang out, in the Tao, in that state, in a childlike beginner's mind. And Jesus always saying that. Look, be like little children. Unless you like one of these kids, you're not getting into the kingdom of heaven. Be born again. So I think when he was writing on the ground, he was just writing things showing like, all of y'all think y'all grown. You know what I'm saying? Every one of y'all think y'all grown ups. Y'all think y'all in some type of position better and smarter than somebody, when really we all just figuring it out as we go along.
I love these stories.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Jesus cool, man.
So you mentioned rap a little bit. So tell us a little bit about, the art of rap and, how you connect to it and, maybe make these divine thoughts approachable for people to kind of feel and vibe, without having to sit through like a lecture or a podcast or something, Tell us a little bit about like rap, what it means to you, how are you displaying your art and that type of stuff.
The first rap that I remember writing was about something, like Black history stuff and rights and justice. And all the raps after that, there was never a time I did a rap where it wasn't about either justice or God or some type of concept that could be valuable to me. I'm normally thinking about it in that way. How can I write something that if I listen to, it's gonna advance me along to where I'm looking to go, help me remember stories about the Siddhas. So like I did an album called Siddha Gita, and it's all stories, one about Goraknath, one about Agastya, one about Tirumular, one about Murugan, and that's the son of Shiva that most people don't even know. They only know Ganesh. So I had to do one and that's why I do it, so I could remember things that are important to me. And then I think like, well, other people might enjoy this too. They might benefit from some of these things. So it's usually just, how can I do something where it's not gonna sound corny or too heavy, make it sound dope, and communicate where my mind has been contemplating. So what I do has taken on its own name. I've given it the name, but I find myself the one person who does it most sharp in its contemplative mystic hip hop. There might be other mystic hip hops and things of that nature, but like to put contemplative ideas in there that come from actual living a contemplative life is the goal of what I do. And a lot of rap, it's not, I don't know if it has a goal other than, just the play, the rap itself. And that, we're not condemning that. But that's what sort of makes hip hop that has an intention a little different than when it's just like, I'm just gonna make a song about whatever, talk about myself, or there's so much more to explore, and I get a chance to do it. I have a lot of friends who do it as well. They're similar, but I wouldn't call them contemplative. I would call them, either conscious or psychedelic, or, people have their own genres. So I've tried to iron out my own.
Can you give us a couple? Because I think that it's so underrepresented in all the algos, in every, I would love to listen to like conscious rap or
You're like his
mystical
perfect
rap.
audience.
Yeah, I'm your guy, but like the thing is that it's hard to find, like a little Londrell, a little, what's out there, so can you give us some of your favorites? They could be a little bit like, analogous to, it doesn't have to be the exact same genre, but
Yeah.
positive, conscious, spiritual, mystical rap, like give us some artists.
Yeah, my
you like.
brother, they're usually my friends. So Trev Mental, he's really good. To me, he's like, if you like Eminem type of bars,
Yeah.
but want them about medicine and God and the divine and building a new earth, he's like that.
Trev Mental.
Yeah, Trev Mental.
I'm already feeling it. Okay.
Yeah, he's really good. Who else of my peoples? We got Aura the Prophet. He does, pretty psychedelic. It's like, sort of Led Zeppelin type hip hop. That's how I would call him, a little Pink Floyd-ish. Who else is? I don't want to forget all of my friends who make such good. To be real though, I don't listen to hip hop that often, so it's hard for me to think about who's hitting that place for me, other than myself.
Right.
Because this isn't like, no, I really don't want to be egotistical in this, but I make the music for me. You know what I mean? So that's why it's what I'm gonna listen to, because it's really speaking to what I'm attempting to hear at the time. Another Spectrum. You spell it like SPXTRM. Mm-hmm. He's one of my favorite, and he has amazing wordplay, playfulness. You could tell, Lalita. He definitely moving with Lalita the way he does his music.
Somebody asked Laraji to make a playlist of what he likes to listen to, and a bunch of it was his own music. And I just love that so much. Karen and Jorge says the same thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I mostly listen to my records.
Now, I'll be real. When they come on, I usually skip past them. So unless I put my music on to listen to the album, I don't want to just hear songs or something of mine. Unless I'm just like, okay, it's time for me to listen. I don't want to listen to it. I want to listen to other stuff. But it's rare that I want to listen to hip hop.
I'll say most of what I listen to is something that I feel like is going to lift me up into a positive space and connect me.
Yeah.
And in the realm, and I love your music for that, because I don't think there's another hip hop place that I go, but I love listening to your music, especially when I'm driving.
Derek the Truth Seeker. He's
I should have written all this down, but
we're recording it.
We'll record it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think music is just so powerful. Yeah, I think music is just so powerful. So both of us and a lot of the people that we work with, we create a lot. So we're creating either experiences or thought or something or art. And so much of the mindset from the moment you wake up, like if you're gonna create art, let's say, at 10, you kind of prep for it, you know? And so much of it's like listening to music or doing your sadhana. So that when you actually get in front of it, you're flowing already. And so for me, conscious music or something that is bringing in like divine entities and that type of stuff is so important to listen to that before I create, you know?
If people would see Mitesh before he does his Ayurveda lectures, it's the Beastie Boys.
Very cool.
No, it's important. Like you gotta, the sound, obviously is healing and it's transportive, you know, you can transport you to certain realms. So yeah, I dig it. It's very important.
One thing that connection, I always love to bring everything forward to Jesus again. Sound is, another way to say sound is sonos. And like in the word sonic, you have sun, that S-O-N. So sun, S-O-N, that's sound. The logos, the word of God, the Son of God, the sonic, that is one of the ways I understand the logos. So when any sound healers, anyone playing a gong, anyone chanting, whatever, that's Jesus. That's the Son of God right there on the sound. And the more our mind and heart is in tune with the spirit, the more we feel the impact of Christ himself being there on the sound. Like, so a lot of people, when they talk about the Son of God, they're like, it's the sun in the sky. And there's just a lot of videos that break it down. Maybe it was Zeitgeist or something. People watched things and got really hype about some of the other meanings that Christ might be associated with. And one is the sun in the sky. And they said, the Son of God is actually the sun in the sky. That's what they're talking about. For me, that just made it all fractal. Like you have the sun and the sound, but then there's people who say it's the sun in the sky. But what if God is just so dope that that's why we end up seeing it in all of these places, and that's why it links back to source every time, because it's really like this fractal happening, this resonant, reverberating fractal.
Vibration. It's that primal vibration in the beginning was the word. The word is the movement, it's the relationship, it's the dance.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, there's a Tantric Shiva text, Spandakaraka, you know, and it all is vibration. There's nothing but vibration. It began with vibration. And when the vibration stops, then the show's over.
and sound and music often, for a lot of people, is the way to come back into that relationship. And that's why it's such a part of so many spiritual gatherings. It's kirtan, it's choir, it's the church bell, it's all these things that kind of call us back into source.
I heard that sound is the one, so like if you want to work with your fire body, you got to sit with fire and be with fire. You want to work with air, you breathe. Earth, you work with fasting or doing physical movements. You want to do water, you know, you bathe in the water. But for Akasha, it's sound in silence.
Well, this has been awesome.
It's been awesome.
Sit and talk
Dude,
to you
you're
for a long
freaking
time.
beautiful, man.
Oh,
This is the first time I've ever met you. You're just a
Yo,
beautiful.
we could go for about 4
you're
more
a beautiful.
hours.
You're a beautiful man, and we're really, you know, our prayers are that, you know, however you're putting like light into the world, you know, may you be successful, may you be blessed, may you be prosperous, you know. But man, you're just, yeah, very beautiful. I'm so glad we got to meet you.
Thank you. All glory be to God for this and for any beauty here. Yo, God is the ultimate beautifier. So
God is
thank you.
good.
All the time. All the time. Yeah, it's a wonderful joy to commune and converse about God and to be with people who set up space and time for that bhakti.
It's our favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, y'all.